If you played Ghost of Tsushima, you know how awesome it was to step into the shoes of Jin Sakai, a badass samurai who had to break his own rules to save his people from the Mongol invasion. You also know how the game ended with a heartbreaking choice that changed Jin's life forever. But what happens next? How will Jin deal with the consequences of his actions, and what new challenges will he face in the sequel that we all hope is coming soon? Ghost of Tsushima is a game that pays homage to the classic samurai movies of Akira Kurosawa and others. It blends historical facts with fictional elements to create a compelling story and a beautiful world. The game doesn't shy away from showing the brutal realities of war and the moral dilemmas of its characters. In a sequel, we would love to see how Jin copes with his inner conflict between his honor and his survival. Will he embrace his new identity as the Ghost, or will he try to redeem himself as a samurai? We would also like to know what happens to Lord Shimura, Jin's uncle and mentor, who was forced to fight against him in the final showdown. Will they reconcile, or will they remain enemies? And finally, we would like to see how Jin deals with his exile by the Shogun, who considers him a traitor and a threat. If you loved Ghost of Tsushima, you might be wondering what's next for Jin and his samurai adventures. Well, there are some historical events that could make for a great sequel. One of them is the second Mongol invasion of Japan, which happened 7 years after the first one that we saw in the game. You might remember that at the end of the game, Jin became a wanted man by the shogunate who didn't like his unconventional methods of fighting. Maybe he had to flee to another part of Japan or even another island to escape them. And maybe he got involved in the second Mongol invasion, which was bigger and more dangerous than the first one. The Mongols attacked not only Tsushima, but also Kyushu and other places in mainland Japan. It would be cool to see Jin fighting in different locations and meeting new allies and enemies. Another possible event is the Kamakura earthquake of 1293, which was a huge disaster that killed more than 20,000 people. It also caused a lot of chaos and violence because the shogunate used it as an opportunity to stage a coup and kill a bunch of their rivals. They were trying to get rid of anyone who opposed them or threatened their power. Maybe Jin was one of those people, and he had to use his ghost skills to survive and expose the corruption of the shogunate. Maybe he also helped the people who suffered from the earthquake and tried to rebuild their lives. These are just some ideas of how Ghost of Tsushima could continue its story in a sequel. Of course, there are other historical periods that could also work, like the Sengoku era or the Meiji Restoration. But I think these two events are the most interesting and relevant for Jin's character and the theme of the game. What do you think? Do you have any other suggestions? Let me know in the comments. Jin Sakai is the heart of Ghost of Tsushima, but what if he doesn't return in the sequel? There are other time periods that could make for a great setting for the next game. Maybe we could follow someone who learned from Jin or was inspired by him. How about the Sengoku era, when Japan was in chaos for almost 200 years, or the Edo era, when Tokyo was born and culture flourished? Either way, we can expect the sequel to keep exploring the themes of the first game. Jin is a conflicted hero who breaks his own rules, and his story is not over yet. How will he deal with his identity as the Ghost? Will he abandon his samurai code or create a new one? And of course, we can look forward to another stunning open world adventure where we can dive into the rich history and culture of Japan. About the possible release date, don't hold your breath because it's probably not coming anytime soon. Officially, Sucker Punch Studio hasn't even announced a sequel yet, and the only clues we have are some job listings. So, when can we expect to see Ghost of Tsushima 2? Well, this is just our guess, but we think it could take until 2024 or 2025 at the earliest for the game to show up, but that's also based on what other Sony studios are doing. For example, Horizon Zero Dawn and Horizon Forbidden West took 5 years to make, so we think it's fair to assume a similar time frame for Ghost of Tsushima and its potential sequel.